Hey guys, it's Woody the Unexceptional Gamer, and surprise, surprise, this video is not about the gameplay. It's this old thing on my hard drive from before the game even came out. This video is about Whiteboy7thst getting robbed. So, some people have wondered, did he really get robbed? He did. I chatted with him on Skype. He's serious about moving. You know, things just aren't going his way back at home. So, so it's time for him to get into a better neighborhood that fits him. So, best of luck. I offered him some home buying advice, but he's probably going to buy an apartment, which is a smart first move. He's fine. He doesn't need a fundraiser. He'll be all right. But everything he did in the video is legit. And I just want to talk about the criticism of him a little bit before I get into the meat of my video. People said like, "Oh, you only did this like for views or whatever." No, like Whiteboy, like me actually, shares a lot of himself on his channel, and it becomes second nature. Like, oh, I had an event in my life. You know, I should be putting this on this channel, which has become sort of a documentary. You know, part of it's about the gameplay, but part of it's about who you are, and who he is has been changed at least a little bit by this robbery, and that's that. So before I was ever robbed, I didn't understand what it was as an event, and that leads me into my story. I've told this before, but I've grown like 500,000 subs since then, so forgive me if this is a repeat for most of you. When I was 17, almost 9,000 years ago, I was robbed. What would happen is this guy would come into our house and steal money from my mom. And he'd just take the cash out of her purse. And the first time it happened, she thought, well, maybe it was me. Maybe, you know, I just misplaced the money. I'm some sort of bubblehead, whatever. The second time it happened, she was like, whoa, you know, we're getting robbed here. Like, something happened. You know, I know 2 weeks in a row, I didn't imagine going to the ATM machine and getting money for the week. She would go to the ATM machine to get cash every like Friday or Saturday, and that would last her. She'd get a week's worth of cash. So by the second time, she knew that she was actually being robbed, and my brother and I both kind of sort of suspected each other. You know, we'd say, like, we talked to each other and we were like, was this you? Did you do this? And at the end of the conversation, we walked away convinced, knowing that, you know, it wasn't he or I taking money from our parents. Like, we were both innocent. So that was confirmed not too long later, when the robber didn't just like take cash out of her purse. He took the purse and left its contents scattered in the backyard. And we were all like awake. This was like 8 p.m. The house was filled with people, but the guy slipped in the house somewhere, took the purse, ran out the backyard, went through it, and took the cash out and left everything else. Which, in a way, was kind of polite of him, but, you know, you don't want people stealing your money at all. But at least she didn't have to get a new license and all that stuff, which is dreadful. So that was her getting robbed, and at the time, I slept on the living room couch a lot, like overnight. Like, I used my bedroom half the time, and half the time I just fall asleep in the living room. So there was one time where we got robbed, where instead of stealing from his mother, I had taken my wallet out, this like Velcro surfer wallet thing, and left it on the coffee table, just like a foot and a half, right, half a meter away from me for our international friends. And so he grabbed the wallet, he opened it up, he took the cash, and he tossed it on another couch in the living room. Like, we had 3 in the living room. And it was so violating. And that was part of Whiteboy's story that so, like, resonated with me. This guy was a half a meter from me, a half a yard from me. And he, like, reached over me, like, while I was sleeping, to steal from me, to like violate in a way, not physically violate, but like it was so there. He was uninvited. He didn't belong in my house. He was potentially dangerous. I mean, he's a thief. What else is he? Turns out he's also a drug dealer. We'll get to, or drug user. We'll get to that. And so that like riled me up. You know, suddenly he stole from me personally, and I guess I should have more of a family attitude, but it you know, incited me in a new way. So my friends and I were trying to stake him out with this party, but we were too noisy, and he never came. And then one night, I was awake super late watching television, and I heard the creaking on the basement steps. We had a basement that led into the house, and I heard him like footsteps on it, like, because it had like creaky floorboards. And I approached, I got up, and I sort of quietly went over to the door, and I saw his fingers wrapped around the door, as if he was maybe pulling it closed or opening it with his fingers through it or something. And I kicked the door, and then I grabbed the doorknob and I opened it, and I started cursing at him. "You motherfucker! Fuck you! What the fuck are you doing? Fuck it!" And this woke my dad up, and my dad came downstairs and started chasing the guy. And you know, the guy, he looked at me and he just about fainted. He fell backwards. He was a really, he was a skinny guy. He was this like light-skinned black guy in maybe his early 20s. And he looked at me and he fell backwards and fell down the stairs. And then he kind of regained his senses and he tore out of the door that led from the basement to the outside and ran out the backyard. And he had a bicycle just like a few houses away, and he hopped on that. And my father was chasing him, but he didn't catch him because he had a bike. And that was the last time that he robbed us. That was the time that he kind of got, this house is not good anymore. And but it wasn't the end of the story for me. I think they caught him. I saw a story in the paper where they caught a guy who looked just like him and fit the description. They had him on like 40 counts of robbery. I think that was him. But that's not where the story ended for me. For me personally, like, two things happened. First, eyewitness testimony sucks. I was a foot from this guy, yelling at him for a good like 5-10 seconds, and I couldn't pick him out of a lineup. And the police, like, I had there was not a lineup like on TV, but like a photo lineup, and I'd put my finger on a picture and look at the cop for like feedback. He gave me none. Those guys knew who it was, and they would not help me like identify the person that they said it was. Like, they just didn't play that game, even though I tried. And I just, at the end of it, I was like, you know, I don't have enough confidence to call a man guilty, you know, because I just don't remember him well enough, right? And everyone in the lineup looked roughly the same. Like, they had the same haircut, they were the same age, they were the same skin tone. I just wasn't sure enough to identify a guy. And that was part of it. The other part of it was the impact that it had on me. So just this like violation. Like, I felt like I was pretty brave. Like, I was the guy I aspired to be when I was like approaching him, when I was addressing him. But afterwards, I had nightmares. I had night terrors for a decade, and they always manifested themselves the same way. In my dream, I'm like this half awake, half asleep state, and a guy's entering through my bedroom door. And there's like a bright light behind him. I can hardly make out what he looks like, but I see that it's the figure of a man, and he's coming through the door. And as he gets closer, I try to like scream in terror or do something. And I'm trying to wake up, and this inability to wake up, this like being half awake, half asleep state. And you know how sometimes like you're dreaming and what's happening in around you kind of informs the dream that you're having. This in the dream, because I'm half asleep, half awake, and I can't move, I'm paralyzed with fear. And this being paralyzed with fear is like an aspect of shame that I would have, because I felt like I was, you know, not brave enough to deal with the situation when I was really just sleeping. Everybody sleeps. And then I would eventually wake up, and I'd be all sweaty and clammy and like, I don't know, not happy with how I just handled my state of bravery in dream state. And yeah, and it was this guy. He didn't just steal money from me. He stole like a decade of peaceful sleep. He stole like some sort of self-doubt from me. He stole more than just, you know, the money from my wallet or my mother's purse. What he took from me was a feeling of safety. What was the naivety that I once had in that home. And that kind of violation is the bigger crime than a plasma TV. And that's what hit Whiteboy 2. And I kind of empathize with the video that he made. So you guys asked for me to talk about this as a topic. Now I have, and I hope you enjoyed my video. The top video here is one that you guys requested. I told you how to get a kind of rapid fire on the CM901. Infinity Ward has a long history of making certain attachments improve guns, and here's an example of that. And you guys asked me to test it with dual attachments, so I do that. You can check it out. It's a short video, but I know that you'll learn from it. The bottom one is a Modern Warfare 3 patch update talk. I often get requests to keep you guys informed on what's going on with the latest patches, and I do that there. So I hope you guys like the video. Surprise on the right. If you like this, subscribe at the top, and have a nice day.